Get out. Those were my daughter's last words, as she forced me into a blizzard during the COVID lockdown after believing her husband's lie that I had stolen from them. At 77, I walked into that freezing storm with $37, no phone, and nowhere open, thinking of every sacrifice I'd made raising her. 3 hours later, a police officer found me half frozen in the street. She had no idea that night would one day cost them everything. Thank you for staying here with me. Before we go any further, please leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And just a quick note, parts of this story have been fictionalized for educational and storytelling purposes. Any similarity to real people or places is coincidental, but the message I'm sharing with you is very real and it matters. The wind cut through my jacket like it wasn't even there. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. My breath came out in short, frozen puffs that disappeared into the darkness before I could even see them. Snow pelted my face, sharp, relentless, stinging like tiny needles. I squinted against it, but it didn't help. The world was nothing but white and black and cold. So much cold. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to keep moving. If I stopped, I'd freeze. At 77 years old and negative 15 degrees, that wasn't a metaphor. It was a fact. My shoes crunched through the snow. Each step felt heavier than the last. My legs were shaking not from fear, but from exhaustion, from cold, from shock. I still couldn't believe it. An hour ago, I'd been inside, warm, safe, in the house I'd helped pay for, with my daughter, my granddaughter, my family. Now I was out here, alone, in a blizzard, because of $8,500 I didn't take. 1 hour earlier, 8:37 p.m. Where's the money, Henry? Douglas stood in the living room, arms crossed, his jaw tight. His voice was low controlled, the kind of calm that meant he was anything but. I looked up from the couch, confused. What money? Don't play dumb with me. He stepped closer. The $8,500. Where is it? My stomach dropped. Douglas, I told you back in December I lost that money. I don't know what happened to it. I've been trying to figure it out. Liar. The word hit me like a slap. Christine stood by the stairs, her arms wrapped around herself. She wouldn't look at me. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. Christine. I stood up, my voice shaking. What's going on? She didn't answer. Douglas pulled out his phone. You want to know what's going on? I'll show you. He shoved the screen in my face. Text messages from my phone number to a number I didn't recognize. I got the money. Meet me Monday. I stared at it. That's not, I didn't send that. Really? Douglas swiped to another screenshot. Then explain this. A photo, my closet, my clothes pushed aside, and there in a plastic bag on the shelf, $1,200 in cash. I've never seen that before. My voice cracked. Douglas, I swear. Oh, stop lying! His voice exploded, echoing through the house. You stole from me from your own family. I didn't. You're a thief, Henry, a liar and a thief. I turned to Christine, desperate. Christine, please, you know me. I would never. She looked at the floor, silent. Christine. My voice broke. Her shoulders shook. She was crying, but she didn't say a word. Douglas stepped between us. Get out. I blinked. What? You heard me. Get out. You have 10 minutes. Douglas, it's 15 below zero. I don't care. There's a blizzard. I said get out. His face was red now, veins bulging in his neck. I looked past him, at Christine, at my daughter, the girl I'd raised, the woman I'd given everything for. Christine, I whispered, please. She turned away, and that's when I knew she wasn't going to stop him. I don't remember walking upstairs. I don't remember grabbing my coat, the thin spring jacket, the only one I could find. I don't remember putting on my shoes. I just remember Clara, She ran out of her room as I came down the stairs. 5 years old in her pajamas, her brown curls bouncing. Grandpa. Her voice was small, scared. "Where are you going?" I knelt down. My hands were shaking. "I have to go for a little while, sweetheart." No." She grabbed my jacket. "Don't go. Please don't go." Douglas appeared behind her. "Clara, come here." "No." She held on tighter. "Clara, now." He pulled her away. She screamed, reaching for me, her little hands grasping at air. "Grandpa, Grandpa." Douglas carried her back inside. She was still crying, still calling for me. The door slammed shut. I heard the lock click. Now, 9:15 p.m. The memory played over and over in my head as I walked. Clara's voice, Christine's silence, Douglas's face. The cold was worse now. My teeth chattered so hard I thought they'd crack. My hands were numb. My ears burned. I tried to think. Where could I go? Eugene. My old friend Eugene lived in Cambridge, but that was miles away. And I didn't have my phone. I'd left it on the kitchen counter when Douglas showed me those texts. Even if I had it, I didn't know Eugene's address by heart. We always just called. A shelter. There had to be a shelter. But everything was closed. COVID. Lockdown. The streets were empty. Every store, every restaurant dark. Locked. No one was out here but me. I passed a bus stop. The bench was covered in snow. I thought about sitting. Just for a minute. Just to rest. But I knew if I sat down, I wouldn't get back up. So I kept walking. My vision blurred. The streetlights looked like halos. Everything felt far away, like I was watching myself from somewhere else. I thought about Helen, my wife. She'd been gone 6 years, but in that moment I felt her so clearly it hurt. "Henry," I imagined her saying, "what are you doing out here?" "I don't know, Helen. I don't know." "Come home." "I don't have a home anymore." I stumbled. My knee hit the pavement. Pain shot through my leg, but it felt distant. Dull. I pushed myself up, kept moving. 1 foot, then the other. 1 foot, then the other. I didn't know how long I'd been walking. 10 minutes, 30. Time had stopped making sense. The wind howled. The snow swirled. My body felt like it was shutting down piece by piece. And then I thought, this is it. This is how I die. 77 years old, frozen to death on a street corner in Brookline. Because my son-in-law needed someone to blame. Because my daughter was too afraid to speak. Because I'd trusted the wrong people. I thought about Clara again. Would she remember me? Or would Douglas tell her I was a thief, a liar? Would she grow up thinking her grandpa abandoned her? "I didn't abandon you, sweetheart. I would never abandon you." My legs gave out. I fell to my knees in the snow. I tried to stand, but I couldn't. My body wouldn't listen anymore. This is it, I thought again. I closed my eyes. But that night in February 2021, I didn't know that yet. I didn't know I would survive. I didn't know I would become someone else entirely. I didn't know that in 4 years, I'd be standing on a stage in front of 250 people holding a medal with a new name and a new life. I didn't know Douglas would confess. I didn't know Christine would ask for forgiveness. I didn't know Clara would draw me pictures every week even when I couldn't see her. I didn't know any of that. All I knew was the cold, and the darkness, and the sound of my own heartbeat slowing down. It started 6 years earlier in 2015 when Helen passed away. We'd been married for 42 years. 42 years of Sunday morning pancakes, of arguing over the thermostat, of her stealing the covers every single night. 42 years of ordinary, beautiful life, and then she was gone. I was 71 years old, sitting alone in our house on Beacon Hill. The house we'd bought in 1978. The house where we'd raised Christine. The house filled with Helen's paintings and her flower pots and the smell of her lavender soap. Without her, it felt like a museum. Like I was a visitor in my own home. Christine came by every day that first month. She'd bring groceries, sit with me at the kitchen table, ask if I was eating. I'd lie and say yes. She knew I was lying. But she didn't push on Dad. She said one evening in late 2015, her hand on mine, "You can't stay here alone. This house is too big, too quiet." I looked around. She was right. The walls echoed. Every room reminded me of Helen. "What do you suggest?" I asked. She hesitated. "Douglas and I have been talking. We're thinking about buying a bigger place, something with more space. And we thought, maybe you could live with us." I blinked. "Christine, I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden, Dad. You're family." By early 2016, the decision was made. I sold the house on Beacon Hill. It went for more than I expected. Boston real estate had climbed over the years. After everything was settled, I had a little over $200,000. Christine and Douglas had been looking at houses in Brookline. Beautiful neighborhood, good schools for Clara, who was 2 years old at the time, all curls and giggles. But the houses were expensive. They'd found one they loved, but it was just out of reach. "Dad, you don't have to do this," Christine said when I made the offer. I handed her the check. $175,000. "Take it," I said. "Buy the house, let me help." She cried. Douglas shook my hand, his grip firm, his smile genuine. "Thank you, Henry. We won't forget this." And I believed him. We moved into the Brookline house in March of 2016. It was beautiful. 3 stories, red brick, a little backyard with a maple tree. My room was on the second floor, right next to Clara's. I could hear her laughing through the walls every morning. Those first few years were some of the happiest of my life. I'd wake up early, make coffee, and sit in the kitchen while the sun came up. Christine would come down with Clara on her hip, still in pajamas, and we'd have breakfast together. Douglas would join us before heading to work. He was in finance, always dressed sharp, always in a hurry. "Morning, Henry," he'd say, clapping me on the shoulder. "Sleep well." "Like a rock," I'd reply, and it was true. I helped around the house, fixed the loose railing on the back porch, painted Clara's bedroom a soft yellow because she loved the sun, built her a little bookshelf for her stuffed animals. Christine would smile when she saw me working. "Dad, you don't have to do all this." "I want to," I'd say, and I meant it. I played with Clara every afternoon. We'd build block towers in the living room, and she'd knock them down squealing with laughter. I'd read her stories at bedtime, Goodnight Moon, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, all the classics. She'd curl up against me, her tiny hand holding my thumb, and my heart would feel full in a way it hadn't since Helen died. "Grandpa," she'd whisper, half asleep. "I love you." "I love you too, sweetheart." Those words meant everything. Douglas was good to me in those early years. He'd ask about my day, invite me to watch football with him on Sundays, joke with me over dinner. We weren't best friends, but we got along. He was Christine's husband, Clara's father, and he treated me with respect. Christine seemed happy. She'd hum while cooking, laugh at Douglas's jokes, hold his hand when they thought I wasn't looking. I thought, this is it. This is what I wanted. Family, a home, a purpose. Helen would have loved this, I thought. She would have loved seeing Clara grow up. She would have loved the noise, the laughter, the life in this house. I missed her every day. But I wasn't alone anymore. But by late 2020, something shifted. It was small at first, little things. Douglas started coming home later. He'd walk in at 8, sometimes 9, his tie loosened, his face tight. He'd barely say hello before heading to his office and closing the door. Christine stopped humming. I'd find her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, her tea going cold in front of her. You okay, honey?" I'd ask. She'd blink, force a smile. "I'm fine, Dad, just tired." But she wasn't fine. I could see it in the way her shoulders hunched, the way she flinched when Douglas raised his voice, even if it wasn't at her. And Douglas started snapping. "Henry, did you move my keys?" "No, I haven't seen them." "Well, they're not where I left them." His tone had an edge I hadn't heard before. Another time he'd ask, Did you touch the thermostat? I might have turned it up a degree. It was a little cold. Don't touch it. We have it set for a reason. I'd nod, apologize, try not to make waves, but the waves were already there. Christine and Douglas started arguing behind closed doors. I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear the tone, sharp, tense, exhausted. Clara noticed too. "Grandpa," she whispered one night as I tucked her in. "Why is Daddy mad all the time?" "He's just stressed, sweetheart. Work is hard sometimes." "Is he mad at you?" No, I lied. Everything's fine, but I didn't know if that was true. By December 2020, I started keeping my head down. I stopped offering to help with projects around the house. Stopped suggesting we all have dinner together. Stopped asking Christine if she was okay. I told myself it was just a phase. Douglas was under pressure at work. Christine was tired from taking care of Clara. Things would get better. But deep down I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know how to fix it. By 2020, I started noticing small things. Douglas's temper, Christine's silence. But I told myself it was just stress, just work, just life. I didn't see the trap closing around me. Not yet. The first sign came in October 2020. I was making coffee one Tuesday morning when Douglas walked into the kitchen, his face tight with irritation. "Henry, did you move my keys?" I looked up from the coffee pot. "Your keys?" "No, I haven't touched them." "They're not where I left them." His tone was sharp, impatient. "Where did you leave them?" "On the counter, right here." He pointed at the spot next to the microwave. "I always put them here." I shrugged. Maybe they fell or Christine moved them. His jaw clenched. "Christine's still asleep, and things don't just fall on their own." I helped him look. We found the keys 10 minutes later in his jacket pocket, hanging in the hallway closet. "Oh," he said flatly. "Must have left them there." No apology, no thanks for helping. He just grabbed the keys and walked out. I thought it was odd, but I didn't think much of it. Not yet. A week later, it happened again. Douglas came home from work, walked straight to his office, and came back out 30 seconds later. "Henry, did you go into my office?" "No," I said. "Why?" "Because my papers are out of order. I had them stacked in a specific way and now they're messed up." "I haven't been in there, Douglas." He stared at me for a long moment, his eyes narrow. Then he sighed, rubbed his temples. "Fine. Whatever." But the next day he asked again, "Are you sure you didn't touch anything in my office?" "I'm sure. Because I could have sworn I left that file on the left side of the desk. Now it's on the right." I felt a prickle of unease. "Douglas, I promise. I haven't touched your things." He didn't respond, just walked away. By mid-October, it was happening constantly. "Did you adjust the thermostat? Did you drink my coffee? Did you take the mail inside?" Every question felt like an accusation. And every time I said no, I could see the doubt in his eyes, like he didn't believe me. But the worst part, I started doubting myself. Did I move his keys? Maybe I picked them up without thinking. Maybe I was getting forgetful. I was 77 after all. Helen used to joke that I'd forget my own head if it wasn't attached. Maybe Douglas was right. Maybe I was slipping. In November, Douglas's tone changed. We were all having dinner, me, Christine, Douglas, and Clara. I was telling Clara a story about a trip Helen and I took to Cape Cod years ago, and she was giggling, asking questions. Douglas cut in. "Henry, didn't you already tell that story?" I paused my fork halfway to my mouth. "I don't think so." "You did, last week, word for word." Christine glanced at me uncertain. I don't remember telling it," I said slowly. Douglas leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. "You're 77, Henry. Maybe your memory's not as sharp as it used to be." The words stung. Clara looked between us, confused. "Grandpa's memory is fine." "Clara, finish your dinner." Douglas said, his voice firm. I didn't tell any more stories that night. By late November, I started keeping to myself. I'd eat breakfast early before Douglas came down. I'd spend my afternoons in my room reading, staying out of the way. I stopped offering to help around the house, stopped trying to start conversations. Christine noticed. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked one evening when we were alone in the kitchen. "I'm fine, honey. You've been really quiet lately." I forced a smile. "Just tired, that's all." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. And I didn't tell her the truth, that every time I walked into a room, I felt like I was intruding, like I was in the way, like I didn't belong in this house anymore. Then in December, everything changed. I kept my savings in cash. Old habit, I guess. Helen and I always liked having some money on hand, just in case. After she died, I kept it up. I had $60,000 in the bank, safe and untouched. But I also kept a little extra at home. $8,500 tucked inside an old Bible on my bookshelf. It was my emergency fund. Money I'd saved from my pension over the years. I checked on it once a month, just to make sure it was still there. On December 8th, I checked. It was gone. I pulled the Bible off the shelf, flipped through the pages. Nothing. I checked the drawer beneath it, the closet, under the bed. Nothing. My heart was pounding. $8,500 didn't just vanish. I went downstairs, tried to keep my voice calm. "Christine, have you seen my Bible?" The old one with the leather cover. She looked up from her laptop. "The one from your room, number Y. I had some money in it, and it's not there." Her eyes widened. "Money? How much?" $8,500. "Dad, why would you keep that much cash in a Bible?" "I always have. It was safe." Douglas walked in, overhearing. "Wait, you're saying you lost $8,500? "I didn't lose it," I said quickly. "It's just not where I left it." He crossed his arms. "Henry, did you move it? Maybe you put it somewhere else and forgot." "No, I check it every month. It was there last month." "Are you sure?" I hesitated. "Yes, I'm sure." Douglas exchanged a glance with Christine. "Henry, I don't want to say this, but maybe you're misremembering. You've been forgetting a lot of things lately. I haven't forgotten this." "Okay." He held up his hands. "Okay. We'll keep an eye out for it." But his tone said he didn't believe me. Over the next few weeks, I tore my room apart looking for that money. I checked every drawer, every pocket, every book. I even looked in places I knew I'd never put it: under the mattress, behind the dresser, in the bathroom cabinet. Nothing. I started to wonder, did I move it? Did I take it out and forget? But I knew I hadn't. I knew it. Still, the doubt gnawed at me. And every time Douglas looked at me, I could see the judgment in his eyes. "You're getting old, Henry. You're losing it." Maybe he was right. Maybe I was. By early January 2021, the tension in the house was suffocating. Douglas barely spoke to me. Christine avoided eye contact. Even Clara seemed quieter, like she could feel the weight pressing down on all of us. I checked my bank account 3 times that month just to make sure my $60,000 was still there. It was. Untouched. So where had the $8,500 gone? I didn't know, and I was terrified to find out. But I didn't see what was coming. I didn't see the trap Douglas was setting. I didn't see how deep I'd already fallen. I just kept my head down and waited. By January 2021, Douglas stopped pretending. He didn't ask where his keys were anymore. Didn't question whether I'd touched his things. He just stopped talking to me altogether. He'd walk into the kitchen in the morning, grab his coffee, and leave without a word. If I said good morning, he'd ignore me. If I asked how work was going, he'd look right through me like I wasn't there. It was worse than anger. It was erasure. The first week of January, I tried to talk to Christine about it. "Honey, is Douglas okay? He seems upset." She was folding laundry at the kitchen table, her hands moving mechanically, not looking up. "He's just stressed, Dad." "Is it work?" "I don't know, maybe." "Christine," I reached for her hand. "Talk to me." She pulled away, her eyes darting toward the hallway, checking if Douglas was nearby. I can't, Dad. Not right now. Can't or won't. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Please, just don't make things harder. I wanted to push, but the look in her eyes stopped me. She was scared. By mid-January, Douglas started controlling Clara. One afternoon, I was in the living room reading when Clara ran in, her stuffed rabbit in hand. Grandpa want to play blocks. I'd love to, sweetheart. We just started building a tower when Douglas appeared in the doorway. Clara, upstairs, now. She looked up, confused. But Grandpa and I are playing, I said now. His voice was cold, final. Clara's face crumpled. She stood up slowly, clutching her rabbit. Can I play with Grandpa later? No. But. Clara, go. She walked past him, her head down. I heard her little footsteps on the stairs, and then her door closing. I looked at Douglas. She wasn't doing anything wrong. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away without a word. After that, every time Clara tried to come near me, Douglas would intervene. Send her to her room. Give her a chore. Tell her to go play outside. She stopped trying, and I stopped fighting it. In mid-January, I started noticing things I shouldn't have. One Tuesday, I was putting Douglas's jacket away. He'd left it on the back of a chair, and a piece of paper fell out of the pocket. A hotel receipt. The Borgata, Atlantic City. December 18th to 20th, 2020. Total $1,847. I stared at it. Douglas had told Christine he was at a work conference in December, in Philadelphia. Atlantic City wasn't Philadelphia. I checked the jacket again. Found another receipt. Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. November 10th to 12th, 2020. Total $2,203. My stomach turned. I put the jacket back exactly where I'd found it. Didn't say a word to anyone. But I started paying closer attention. A week later, I was in the kitchen when Douglas came downstairs. Phone pressed to his ear, his voice tense. He didn't see me. I was standing by the pantry, half hidden by the open door. I know. Douglas said, his voice low and tight. I just need more time. Silence. Then, no, I can't get it right now. I'm working on it. I said I'm working on it. Another pause. Look, I'll have the money by March, I promise. Just give me until March. He hung up. Stood there for a moment, his hand gripping the counter so hard his knuckles went white. Then he turned and saw me. His face went blank. How long have you been standing there? I just came in. I lied. He didn't believe me. But he didn't say anything. Just grabbed his keys and left. I stood there, my heart pounding. I'll have the money by March. What money? How much? That night I checked the mail before Douglas got home. There was a letter addressed to him. From a credit card company. I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. Notice of account delinquency. Outstanding balance $23,456. Payment 90 days overdue. $23,000. I felt sick. I put the letter back in the envelope, resealed it as best I could, and left it on the counter. When Douglas came home, he saw it. His jaw tightened. He looked at me. Did you open this? No. He held my gaze for 3 long seconds. Then he took the letter and walked upstairs. I didn't see him for the rest of the night. By late January, I couldn't stay silent anymore. One evening, Douglas was alone in the living room, nursing a glass of whiskey. Christine and Clara were upstairs. I sat down across from him. Douglas, if you need help. I don't. I'm just saying if there's something going on. There's nothing going on, Henry. Douglas, I'm not blind. I know you're under pressure. If it's money. He slammed the glass down on the table. Whiskey sloshed over the rim. Stay out of my business. His voice was a growl, low, dangerous. I raised my hands. I'm just trying to help. I don't need help from you, old man. He leaned forward, his eyes hard. You think because you gave us money for this house, you get to stick your nose in everything you don't. This is my house. My family. And you're here because we're letting you be here. Don't forget that. The words hit like a punch. I stood up slowly. I won't forget. I went to my room and didn't come out until morning. By February 13th, the house felt like a powder keg. That morning, Douglas didn't come down for breakfast. Christine moved around the kitchen like a ghost, silent, pale, her eyes red-rimmed. Clara sat at the table picking at her cereal. "Grandpa," she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart." "Are you okay?" I forced a smile. "I'm okay. Daddy's really mad." "I know." "Is he mad at you?" I didn't know how to answer that. Christine turned from the sink, her voice sharp. "Clara, finish your breakfast." Clara's face fell. She didn't say another word. Around noon, Douglas came downstairs. He looked like he hadn't slept. His shirt was wrinkled. His face was drawn tight like he was holding something back. He walked past me without a glance. But I felt it, the hatred, the desperation. Something was coming. At 4 in the afternoon, Douglas locked himself in his office. I could hear him on the phone, his voice muffled but angry. At 6, Christine went upstairs and didn't come back down. At 7:30, I heard her crying in the bathroom. Soft, choked sobs she tried to muffle with a towel. I wanted to knock, to ask if she was okay, but I didn't. I just sat in my room and waited. At 8 o'clock, I heard Douglas's footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, deliberate. He stopped outside my door. I held my breath. Then he walked past, down the stairs, and I heard his voice from the living room. "Henry, get down here now." My chest tightened. I stood up slowly, walked to the door, opened it, and went downstairs. By 8 p.m., the air in the house felt heavy, like something pressing down on my chest. Something was coming. I just didn't know what. That night, February 13th, 8:37 p.m., was the night everything shattered. Douglas called me downstairs, accused me of stealing the $8,500 I'd lost back in December. Showed me text messages I'd never sent from my phone to a number I didn't recognize. Showed me a photo of $1,200 hidden in my closet, money I'd never seen before. "You're a thief," he said. I tried to explain, tried to defend myself. Christine stood against the wall, silent tears streaming down her face. She wouldn't look at me, wouldn't speak. "Get out," Douglas said. "You have 10 minutes. I looked at him, at Christine, at the home I thought was mine, and I knew there was nothing I could say that would change his mind. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. My room, the room I'd lived in for nearly 5 years, felt different, smaller, like it had already stopped being mine. I stood in the doorway for a moment, looking around. The bed Christine and I had picked out together at a furniture store in Cambridge. The bookshelf I'd built with Clara one Saturday afternoon, her tiny hands holding the nails while I hammered. The curtains Helen had sewn years ago, soft blue with white trim, that I'd brought from our old house because they reminded me of her. I'd thought this was home. I'd been wrong. I opened my closet. The spring jacket hung on the left, thin navy blue, meant for April mornings, not February blizzards. My winter coat was downstairs in the hall closet, but I wasn't going back down there, not to ask Douglas for anything. Not ever again. I pulled the jacket off the hanger. My wallet sat on the dresser. I opened it. $37. A photo of Christine from her college graduation. My driver's license. A library card I hadn't used in months. I slipped it into my pocket. Next to the wallet was a framed photo of Helen. She was standing on a beach Nantucket the summer before she got sick. Her hair was blowing in the wind, gray strands catching the sunlight. She was smiling. Really smiling. The kind of smile that made you feel warm just looking at it. I picked up the frame, pulled the photo out, and slid it carefully into my jacket's inside pocket close to my chest. "I'm sorry, Helen," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." I looked around the room one more time. Should I take anything else? My books, my clothes, the wooden box on my nightstand, where I kept Helen's wedding ring. No, I didn't want to carry anything that would slow me down. And part of me, some stubborn, foolish part, still believed this was temporary. That Douglas would calm down, that Christine would come to her senses, that I'd be back. I know now how wrong I was, but in that moment, standing in that room, I couldn't accept that this was the end. I walked back downstairs. Douglas was waiting by the front door. Arms crossed his face hard. Christine was gone, probably upstairs with Clara. He didn't say anything, just stared at me. I stopped a few feet away. Douglas, I didn't take that money. I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm telling you to leave. I looked at him, really looked at him. At the man my daughter had married. The man I'd trusted. The man I'd given $175,000 to so he could buy this house. And I saw nothing. No guilt, no hesitation, no doubt. Just cold, empty resolve. Where am I supposed to go? I asked quietly. Not my problem. It's 15 below zero out there. There's a blizzard. You should have thought of that before you stole from me. I opened my mouth to argue, to plead, to beg. But what was the point? He'd already decided. I was halfway to the door when I heard her. Grandpa, Clara's voice, small, trembling. I turned. She was standing at the top of the stairs in her pink pajamas, her stuffed rabbit, Mr. Floppy, she called him, clutched tight against her chest. Her eyes were wide, red-rimmed from crying. Where are you going? My throat closed up. I have to leave for a little while, sweetheart. Why? I didn't have an answer she'd understand. I have to. But you'll come back, right? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to promise her I'd be back tomorrow. That everything would be okay. But I couldn't. I don't know, Clara. Her face crumpled. No, Grandpa, you can't go. Please don't go. She ran down the stairs, her little feet pounding on the wood, and threw herself at me, wrapping her arms around my waist. Please stay, please. I knelt down, my hands shaking, and touched her face. Her cheeks were wet with tears. I love you, Clara. I love you so, so much. Then don't leave me. I have to. Why? Because I couldn't finish. Couldn't tell her the truth. Douglas stepped forward and grabbed her arm. Clara, let go. No, she held on tighter. Clara, now! He pulled. She screamed. Grandpa, don't go. Her fingers slipped from my jacket. Douglas lifted her, and she kicked, reaching for me, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Please, please come back. Christine appeared from the kitchen. She took Clara from Douglas, turned her away from me, held her tight. Shh, baby, shh, it's okay. But it wasn't okay. Clara kept crying, kept calling for me. And Christine, my daughter, wouldn't even look at me. Douglas opened the door. The cold rushed in. Brutal. Instant. Out. I looked at Clara one last time. At Christine. At the house I'd helped buy. The home I'd thought was mine. And I stepped outside. The door slammed behind me. I heard the lock turn. Click. I stood on the front step, my breath misting in the freezing air. Inside, I could still hear Clara crying. Her voice muffled through the walls, but unmistakable. Grandpa! Grandpa! I wanted to knock, to bang on the door, to demand they let me back in. But I didn't. I just stood there. And then one by one the lights inside started going out. First the living room, then the hallway, then the kitchen. The house went dark, and I realized they were done with me. I turned away from the door. The street was empty. Silent except for the howl of the wind. Snow swirled through the air, thick and blinding. The streetlights cast pale yellow circles on the ground, but between them everything was shadow. I pulled my thin jacket tighter, useless against the cold, but it was all I had. $37 in my wallet, a photo of Helen in my pocket, and nowhere to go. I started walking, one foot in front of the other. Away from the house, away from my daughter, away from Clara. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stand on that step anymore, listening to the silence behind that locked door. So I walked, and by 9:15, I was alone in the blizzard. 77 years old, with nothing but the clothes on my back and a future I couldn't see. The next hour and 15 minutes were the longest of my life. I walked through that blizzard searching for shelter, for warmth, for anywhere that would take me in. But every door was locked. Every light was off. And the cold, God, the cold, it didn't just hurt. It erased you piece by piece until you couldn't remember what warmth even felt like. The first place I tried was a CVS pharmacy 3 blocks from Christine's house. I could see the red sign through the snow glowing faintly. My legs were already shaking, my breath coming in short, painful gasps, but I pushed forward. When I reached the door, I grabbed the handle. Locked. A sign taped to the glass read, "Closed due to COVID-19 restrictions. Curfew in effect, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I stared at the words, my mind slow, struggling to process. 8 p.m. It was past 9 now. I was an hour too late. I pressed my face against the glass, peering inside. The lights were off. The aisles were dark and empty. No one was there. I knocked anyway. "Hello." My voice came out weak, hoarse. "Is anyone there?" Silence. I knocked harder. "Please, I just need nothing." I stepped back, my hands numb, my chest tight. I kept walking. The next block, I found a diner. Or what used to be a diner, it looked like it had been closed for months. The windows were dark, the chairs stacked on the tables inside. Another sign on the door, temporarily closed. Temporarily? I wondered how many businesses had put up that sign thinking they'd reopen in a few weeks. How many never did. I tried the door anyway. Locked. A bank. Locked. A coffee shop. Locked. A small boutique selling scarves and mittens, ironic considering what I needed, locked. Every single door. COVID had shut the world down. And I was on the wrong side of it. By the time I'd walked 6 blocks, I couldn't feel my hands anymore. I tried flexing my fingers, but they wouldn't respond. They were stiff, clumsy, like they didn't belong to me. My ears burned. Not the kind of burn from heat, the kind from cold. Sharp. Biting. The wind tore at them and I had nothing to cover them with. I pulled my jacket collar up as high as it would go. It didn't help. My legs were shaking so badly I could barely walk straight. Each step felt like lifting a weight. My knees threatened to buckle with every movement. Keep moving, I told myself. If you stop, you'll freeze. But I was so tired. I found a bus stop with a covered bench. The shelter wasn't much, just a plastic roof and 3 walls, but it blocked some of the wind. I collapsed onto the bench, my body trembling violently. The cold had soaked through my jacket, through my shirt, into my skin. My teeth chattered so hard I thought they'd crack. I tried to think. Where can I go? Eugene. My friend Eugene lived in Cambridge, but that was miles away, and I didn't have his address memorized. I'd always just called when I needed to visit, and my phone, I'd left it on the kitchen counter when Douglas showed me those fake texts. A shelter. There had to be a homeless shelter nearby, but I didn't know where. And even if I did, could I walk there? I'd already walked 6 blocks and my legs were giving out. Maybe I should just stay here, I thought. Just until the cold passes. But a voice in my head. Helen's voice said, "Henry, if you sit too long, you won't get back up." She was right. She was always right. I thought about Helen, 42 years of marriage. I thought about the first time I met her. I was 29, working construction, covered in dust and sweat. She was at a diner with her friends laughing at something one of them said. And when she looked up and saw me staring, she didn't look away. She smiled, and I was gone. I thought about our wedding. Small. Just family and a few friends. Helen wore a simple white dress she'd found at a thrift store. She said she didn't need anything fancy. She just needed me. I thought about the night Christine was born. How Helen held her tears streaming down her face and whispered, "We made this. We made her." I thought about Sunday mornings. Pancakes. Helen always burned the first batch and I'd eat them anyway, and she'd laugh and call me a terrible liar. I thought about the thermostat wars, how she always wanted it at 72, and I'd turn it down to 68 when she wasn't looking, and she'd turn it back up, and we'd go back and forth until one of us gave in. I thought about the last thing she said to me. We were in the hospital. She'd been sick for 6 months. The doctors said there was nothing more they could do. She took my hand. "Henry," she whispered, "don't be alone. Promise me you won't be alone." I promised. And then she closed her eyes. I broke that promise, sitting on that bench in the freezing cold, with no one around and nowhere to go. I was alone. Completely, utterly alone. "I'm sorry, Helen," I whispered into the wind. I tried. I really tried. I thought about Clara, her laugh, high and bright and contagious. The way she'd run to me every morning, her curls bouncing, shouting, "Grandpa, Grandpa." The way she'd hold my hand when we crossed the street, her little fingers wrapped tight around mine, trusting me to keep her safe. The way she'd sit in my lap while I read her stories. Where the Wild Things Are. Goodnight Moon. She'd memorized them all, could recite every word, but she still asked me to read them over and over. Again, Grandpa, again, and I always did, because there was nothing in the world I loved more than making her happy. Where was she now? Was she in bed? Was she crying? Did she think I'd abandoned her? "I didn't abandon you, sweetheart," I thought. I would never abandon you. My vision started to blur. The streetlights looked fuzzy, distant, like I was seeing them through water. My body felt heavy, so heavy. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. "Get up," I told myself. "Get up, move." But I couldn't. The cold was inside me now, in my chest, in my bones. And I was so tired. Maybe if I just closed my eyes for a minute. "No," Helen's voice again, sharper this time. "Henry, don't you dare." I forced my eyes open, pushed myself up off the bench. My legs nearly gave out, but I caught myself on the side of the shelter. "Move, just move." 1 foot forward, then the other. 1 step, then another. The world tilted. I stumbled, and then I was on the ground, face down in the snow. I tried to push myself up. My arms wouldn't work. This is it, I thought. This is how it ends. 77 years old, frozen on a sidewalk in Brookline, because my son-in-law framed me, because my daughter wouldn't speak, because I had nowhere else to go. I closed my eyes, and then, light, bright, blinding. I turned my head. Headlights. A car, coming toward me, and then headlights. The police cruiser's headlights cut through the blizzard like twin beams of hope. I heard the engine first, then the crunch of tires on snow, then the lights, bright, blinding, impossible. The car stopped, a door opened, and a man stepped out. Officer Owen Marshall was 44, broad-shouldered, his face weathered by Boston winters and long patrol shifts. He wore a thick navy jacket with Boston Police across the back, a radio clipped to his shoulder, and the look of someone who had seen too much to be easily shaken. But when he saw me lying face down in the snow, barely moving, his expression changed. "Sir." He knelt beside me, a gloved hand gripping my shoulder. "Sir, can you hear me?" I tried to answer. My lips moved, but no sound came out. He rolled me onto my back and shined a flashlight in my face. I squinted vision, swimming my body, shaking uncontrollably. "Jesus," he muttered. Then louder. "Sir, stay with me. Can you tell me your name?" "Shh. Henry." The word barely escaped my throat. "Okay, Henry, I'm Officer Marshall. I'm going to help you. But you need to stay awake, all right." I tried to nod. I wasn't sure it worked. Owen spoke into his radio. "Dispatch Unit 12. Male mid to late 70s found unresponsive at Harvard and Beacon. Suspected hypothermia. Request immediate medical assistance." Static crackled back. "Unit 12 ambulances delayed due to weather. ETA 20 to 30 minutes. Owen's jaw tightened. "Copy." He looked at me again. "Henry, I'm getting you into my car. We need to warm you up." He didn't wait for an answer. He lifted me easily as if I weighed nothing at all and carried me to the cruiser. The warmth inside hit me like fire. I gasped, my body convulsing. I know, Owen said calmly. It's going to hurt. But you need this. He cranked the heat to maximum and wrapped me in a silver emergency blanket, crinkly and loud. Then he turned to face me. Henry, I need to ask you some questions. Can you answer? I nodded. How long were you out there? An hour, maybe more. Where were you going? I don't know. His eyes sharpened. Where did you leave from? I hesitated. Henry, he said, gently but firmly. Are you in danger? Did someone do this to you? I closed my eyes, and I told him. About Helen. About moving in with Christine and Douglas. About the $175,000 I gave them for the house. About Douglas changing. The gaslighting. The missing $8,500. The fake texts. The cash planted in my closet. About tonight. The accusation. Christine's silence. Clara screaming as they dragged her away. About being thrown into a blizzard at 77 years old with nowhere to go. By the time I finished, my voice was gone. Owen sat quietly. Then he said, that's elder abuse. I blinked. What? And if he framed you and threw you out knowing you could die? He continued, that's attempted manslaughter. I don't want to press charges, I whispered. I just want, Henry. Owen interrupted. This isn't just about what you want. What he did is a crime. He's my daughter's husband, and that makes it okay. I looked down. It doesn't, I said, but I don't want to hurt Christine. Owen exhaled slowly. Your daughter let him throw you into a blizzard. I don't know why. Fear, maybe. But she let it happen. The truth settled heavy in my chest. Owen pulled a thermos from the console. Drink. Hot water, he said. It'll help. I sipped carefully. The warmth spread through my chest and stomach. It was the best thing I'd ever tasted. Thank you, I whispered. Owen hesitated, then said, I have a father. 75. Lives in Worcester. I looked at him. He's stubborn. Says he doesn't want to be a burden. I check on him every week. His voice lowered. If someone did this to him, I wouldn't let it slide. He looked at me. You remind me of him. My throat tightened. You don't deserve this, he said. You deserve safety, warmth, dignity. Snow battered the windows as we waited. Then red lights appeared behind us. The ambulance arrived. 2 paramedics jumped out. This is Henry, Owen told them. 77, hypothermia, mild frostbite, stable for now. A woman knelt beside me. Hi, Henry. I'm Vanessa. We've got you. They transferred me onto a stretcher, wrapped me in heated blankets, and loaded me into the ambulance. Owen stood in the open doorway. You're going to be okay, he said. I want to believe you, I replied. Thank you, I whispered. For stopping. He squeezed my shoulder. I'm glad I did. The doors closed. The ambulance pulled away. I closed my eyes and let the warmth take me. I woke up 3 days later. The first thing I heard was the beeping. Steady, relentless. A heart monitor. The second was the light. White and fluorescent. Hospital light. The third was warmth. Real warmth. The kind that reminds you you're still alive. I opened my eyes. A woman in blue scrubs stood beside my bed reading a chart. Dark hair pulled back. Glasses perched on her nose. She looked up. Welcome back, Henry. Her voice was calm, kind. I tried to speak, but my throat burned. I coughed instead. She poured water into a plastic cup and handed it to me. Small sips. I obeyed. Where am I? Boston Medical Center. You were admitted on February 14th. Today is the 17th. 3 days gone. I'm Dr. Allison Ward. You came in with stage 2 hypothermia, mild frostbite on your ears and fingers, and a laceration on your forehead that required 6 stitches. I touched the bandage above my eyebrow. You fell face first, she said gently. Officer Marshall found you just in time. 5 minutes later. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. The next days blurred together. Nurses checked my vitals every few hours. Temperature, blood pressure, oxygen. The frostbite felt anything but mild, like sandpaper on raw skin. Dr. Ward said I was lucky, no permanent damage. My fingers would heal, my ears would heal. The stitches would come out in 10 days. You're stronger than you look, she said. I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow. Owen came every day. The first time he brought a turkey sandwich and orange juice. Hospital food's terrible, he said. Thank you, I whispered. He sat down. I filed a report about what happened. My chest tightened. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Elder abuse, fraud, possibly attempted manslaughter. What happens now? That depends. Do you want to press charges? I didn't know. I need time. Owen nodded. If you don't do something, he'll do it again. Maybe not to you, but to someone. He was right. Still, the thought of dragging Christine through court, of involving Clara, I couldn't. Not yet. On February 16th, Owen returned and leaned forward. Henry, do you have anywhere to go? I thought about Beacon Hill, sold years ago. Christine's house. The slammed door, the lock clicking shut. Old friends I didn't want to burden. No, I said quietly. I figured, Owen replied. Let me make some calls. 2 days later, he returned with a woman in her early 60s. Silver hair, warm eyes, calm presence. Henry, this is Dr. Lorraine Hughes, director of Haven Hope. She shook my hand, firm, steady. What's Haven Hope, I asked. A non-profit. Housing and support for older adults experiencing homelessness. 30 beds, full-time staff, a community. You want to give me a place to stay, if you're willing to accept it. I don't want charity. She smiled gently. This isn't charity. It's a chance to rebuild. We offer job training, mental health support, and connection. A future. Why me? Because you deserve a second chance. You were thrown out by someone who should have protected you. That isn't your shame to carry. Her words settled deep. Owen nodded. It's safe. And she's the real deal. How much does it cost? I asked. Nothing, just participation. I thought about shelters, cots, crowded rooms, or the street. When can I go? As soon as you're cleared. On February 21st at 10 a.m., I was discharged. Owen drove me. Haven Hope sat in the south end between brownstones and a small park. 3 stories, red brick, green door. It looked like a home. Dr. Hughes met us at the entrance. Welcome, Henry. Inside, the walls were soft yellow. Plants lined the windows. Framed photos of smiling residents hung everywhere. 30 rooms, she said, most occupied. She stopped at a door marked 12. This is yours. Inside was a single bed with a blue comforter, a dresser, a desk, a window facing the park. It wasn't much, but it was mine. That afternoon, I met Denise Porter, mid-50s, curly red hair, kind smile. You must be Henry. Room 8. We shook hands. How is it here? I asked. She thought. It's safe. No judgment. Dinner's the best part. That night, I sat at a long table with 8 others. They asked my story. I gave the short version. They nodded, then shared their own. Divorce, illness, eviction, abuse, bad luck. We were broken in different ways. But we were here. Later, I lay in bed, listening to the quiet hum of the building. Dr. Hughes's words echoed. Welcome home. But I didn't feel like Henry anymore. Henry had walked into a blizzard alone. That man died out there. And maybe that was okay. Maybe it was time to become someone new. Someone who could begin again. I closed my eyes. For the first time in weeks, I felt possibility. That afternoon, my first day at Haven Hope, Dr. Lorraine asked me to come to her office. Just some paperwork, she said. Her office was small. Bookshelves on one wall. A desk cluttered with files. A window overlooking the park. She sat across from me, a registration form between us. Full legal name, Henry Robert Wallace. She wrote it down. Then paused. What would you like us to call you? I frowned. What do you mean? Some residents go by nicknames, middle names, whatever feels right. This is a fresh start. You get to decide. I sat back. Henry was the man who'd been thrown out, who'd been framed, who'd lost everything. Henry was the past. But Robert, Robert was my middle name, my mother's choice. Named after her father, a man I'd never met, but who she said was strong, kind, and stubborn in all the right ways. Robert felt different. Clean. Robert, I said. Call me Robert Wallace. Lorraine smiled and crossed out Henry. Okay, Robert, let's start fresh. The first week was hard. Not because Haven Hope was bad. It was because I didn't know how to exist anymore. I'd spent 5 years being useful, fixing things, playing with Clara. Now I had nothing but time to think, and thinking was dangerous. I thought about Clara's face that night, Christine's silence, Douglas's empty eyes. I thought about Helen, about the promise I'd made, don't be alone, and how I'd broken it. I thought about the $8,500, the texts I didn't send, the cash I didn't plant. How did I not see it coming? On the third day, Denise knocked on my door. You coming to lunch? I was sitting on my bed, staring at the wall. I'm not hungry. Uh-huh. She leaned against the doorframe. Look, Robert, the first week sucks. You're in a new place, you don't know anyone, and your brain won't shut up. Right? I nodded. Thought so, come on. She didn't wait. Just turned and walked. I followed. At lunch, Denise told me her story. I was married 23 years, she said. Marketing manager, nice apartment in Cambridge. Thought I had it figured out. Yeah, what happened? My husband left me for his assistant, 28 years old. Cliché, right? She laughed bitterly. Divorce took 2 years. Spent everything on lawyers, lost the apartment, got laid off during COVID. Slept in my car for 3 months before I found this place. I stared. 3 months. Yep. And I survived? She pointed her fork at me. You're not the only one who lost everything, Robert. We all did. But we're still here. That counts. I looked around. 10 other residents, all with stories like ours. You're right, I said quietly. By the second week, Dr. Lorraine suggested I talk to someone. Her name's Dr. Susan Gallagher. She's our therapist. Just give it a try. Dr. Susan's office was on the second floor. Small, cozy, 2 chairs facing each other. She was in her early 50s with short brown hair and eyes that saw more than you wanted them to. So, Robert, she said, what do you want? What do I want? Yes, out of life, out of being here, out of this next chapter. I didn't know. I don't want to disappear, I said finally. Like I never mattered. Like everything I did, raising Christine, helping Douglas, being there for Clara, was for nothing. You're 77 years old, Susan said. You lived a full life. Married 42 years. Raised a daughter. Worked. You didn't disappear. You were betrayed. The word hit hard. I trusted them. I said, voice cracking. How could I be so blind? Because you're a good person. Good people assume others are good too. She leaned forward. But you don't have to let their betrayal define you. You have knowledge, experience, skills. Use them. I looked at my hands. 77 years old. Still strong. What if it's too late? Susan smiled. You're here, aren't you? You survived. That's not nothing. That's everything. The third week, I started finding ways to be useful. The dining table had a wobbly leg. I fixed it. One resident, Margaret, had a broken jewelry box from her grandmother. I fixed that too. Word spread. Soon people were asking for help. A loose drawer, a squeaky door, a bookshelf. I said yes to everything. It felt good, like I mattered again. Haven Hope ran a small childcare program. On Thursdays, I started reading to the kids. Where the Wild Things Are, Goodnight Moon, the same books I'd read to Clara. At first it hurt. Every page reminded me of her. But then a little boy, maybe 4, looked up and said, "Can you read it again, Mr. Robert?" And I did, because he asked, because I could. I also helped residents write resumes. Most hadn't worked in years. Didn't know how to format one. Didn't know what to say. I'd sit with them at the dining table and we'd work through it. What did you do before? They'd tell me. And I'd help them see that raising kids, managing a household, surviving hard times, those were skills. Valuable skills. By the end of the month, 3 people had interviews. 1 got hired. In early March, Dr. Lorraine called me back to her office. Robert, I have a proposition. We need a community health worker. Part-time. $17 an hour. Helping residents navigate healthcare, mass health appointments, transportation. I blinked. Lorraine, I'm 77. I don't have a degree. No. But you have life experience. And that's worth more. She leaned forward. You've fixed half the furniture here. Read to every kid. Helped 4 people with resumes. You care. That's what matters. I thought about it for 2 days. Then I said yes. My first day, I helped a woman named Rosa sign up for Mass Health. She was 62. Had diabetes. Hadn't seen a doctor in 3 years. We sat at my desk and walked through the application step by step. When we finished, she cried. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Over the next few weeks, I helped a dozen residents. Connected them with services, scheduled appointments, arranged rides. It wasn't glamorous, but it mattered. And for the first time in months, I felt like I had purpose. By April, I had a routine. Wake at 6, breakfast at 7, work 8 to 2, read to the kids on Thursdays, dinner at 6, evening walks. I had a room, a job, a community. I had a name, Robert Wallace. Not Henry anymore. Henry had died in that blizzard. Robert was who I was now. And maybe that was okay. Maybe I could start over. Maybe I could become someone new. In late March, 2 weeks after I started working as a community health worker, a detective came to Haven Hope. His name was Warren Hayes. Mid-40s. Gray suit. Tired eyes. He asked to speak with me privately. We sat in Dr. Lorraine's office. Detective Hayes pulled out a notebook. Mr. Wallace, Robert Wallace, I've been investigating what happened to you on February 13th. My chest tightened. I don't want to press charges. I understand. But there's been a development. He flipped through his notes. A colleague of Douglas Grant, a man named Philip Donovan, came forward. He reported that Douglas owes $77,000 in gambling debts. I stared at him. We investigated the text messages allegedly sent from your phone. They were fabricated. Douglas created them to frame you. He paused. We also discovered that in January of this year, Douglas purchased a $400,000 life insurance policy on you, with himself as the sole beneficiary. My blood ran cold. 1 month before he threw you out. Detective Hayes nodded. Douglas confessed. His exact words. I thought he'd die out there. I needed the money. That's premeditated. We've charged him with fraud, elder abuse, and attempted manslaughter. He's looking at 30 years. I couldn't speak. 30 years. I didn't go to the trial. Owen offered to take me. Dr. Lorraine said she'd come with me. But I couldn't sit in that courtroom. Couldn't look at Douglas. Couldn't see Christine. Not yet. So I stayed at Haven Hope. I worked. I read to the kids. I helped residents. And I tried not to think about the fact that my son-in-law had tried to kill me for $400,000. In May, Dr. Lorraine called me into her office. Robert, I'd like to promote you. Senior community health worker. $25 an hour. I blinked. Lorraine, you've earned it. I accepted. By summer, I started thinking bigger. I'd been helping individual residents 1 person at a time. But the need was so much larger. One night, I sat at my desk and started writing. A proposal. A program for women over 50 experiencing homelessness. Not just housing. Not just job training. A full system, mental health services, healthcare navigation, childcare, resume building, interview prep, financial literacy. I called it Silver Bridges. because we weren't just helping women survive. We were building bridges to a new life. I worked on it for 3 weeks. When I gave it to Dr. Lorraine, she read it in one sitting. Then she looked up with tears in her eyes. "Robert, this is incredible. You think it could work?" "I think it could change lives." We launched Silver Bridges in October of 2021. The first year we helped 65 women. Some found jobs. Some found housing. Some reconnected with family. One woman, Patricia, 58, got hired as an office manager at a law firm. She cried when she told me, "I haven't had a real job in 6 years. I thought I was done." I shook my head. "You did the work, Patricia. I just helped you see you could." By January of 2023, word had spread. The Boston Globe ran a story. Robert Wallace, 78, turns tragedy into purpose. I didn't want to do the interview, but Dr. Lorraine convinced me. People need to hear your story. It gives them hope. So I told the reporter everything. The blizzard, Douglas, Haven Hope, Silver Bridges. When the article came out, donations poured in. $50,000 in the first week. Dr. Lorraine called an emergency meeting. "Robert, we can expand. Worcester, Springfield, Lowell, Cambridge. We can take this statewide." And we did. By the end of 2023, we were in 4 cities. We'd helped an additional 140 women, total 205. In March of 2024, Dr. Lorraine promoted me again. Director of Elder Services, $78,000 a year. I almost said no. "Lorraine, I'm 80 years old." "Exactly. You understand this population better than anyone." So I accepted. By August, Silver Bridges had expanded to 7 cities. New Bedford, Quincy, Brockton. We'd helped 420 women total. Boston Magazine put me on the cover. The man who rebuilt himself. I kept the magazine in my desk drawer. Not because I was proud, though I was, but because I couldn't believe it was real. 4 years ago, I'd been dying in a blizzard. Now I was on the cover of a magazine. In early November, Dr. Lorraine came to my office with an envelope. "This came for you." It was from a law firm in Boston. Inside was a letter. "Dear Mr. Wallace, my name is Cordelia Banks. I represent Christine Wallace Grant. My client has asked me to reach out on her behalf. She understands you may not wish to speak with her directly. However, she wanted you to know the following. She divorced Douglas Grant in 2022. She has been in therapy for 2 years. In 2023, she made an anonymous donation of $75,000 to Haven Hope. She deeply regrets what happened in February 2021. She would like the opportunity to apologize in person if you are willing. Please contact me if you wish to respond. Sincerely, Cordelia Banks, Esquire." I read the letter 3 times. $75,000. Anonymous. She'd been trying to make amends. Quietly. Without asking for anything in return. Dr. Lorraine stood in the doorway. "What are you going to do?" I folded the letter. "I don't know." "Do you want to see her?" I thought about Clara. The last time I'd seen her screaming, reaching for me while Douglas dragged her away. I thought about Christine's silence that night. And I thought about the $75,000. The divorce. The therapy. She was trying. But was I ready? "Maybe," I said finally. "But not yet." Dr. Lorraine nodded. "Take your time." I put the letter in my desk drawer, next to the magazine. 2 pieces of paper that represented 2 very different parts of my life. One was about where I'd been. The other was about where I was going. I wasn't sure which one mattered more. Over the next few weeks, I thought about Christine a lot. I thought about the 5 years we'd lived together. The moments that had been good, making breakfast with Clara, fixing things around the house, Sunday dinners. And I thought about the moment it all fell apart. Her silence. Her inability or unwillingness to defend me. Part of me understood. She'd been scared, controlled, maybe even abused. But part of me couldn't forget, couldn't forgive. Not yet. One evening in late November, I sat in my room and wrote a letter. Not to Christine, to myself. I wrote about the man I used to be. Henry, the father, the grandfather, the man who'd trusted too much. And I wrote about the man I was now. Robert, the director, the builder of bridges. I wrote, you don't have to forgive her to move forward. You don't have to forget to be whole. You survived. You rebuilt. That's enough. I folded the letter and put it in the drawer with the others. By November of 2024, I had built a life. A real life. The invitation arrived in early December, a thick cream envelope with gold lettering. Annual Nonprofit Gala, February 16th, 2025. The Fairmont Copley Plaza. Haven Hope has been selected as an honoree. As Director of Elder Services, you are invited to speak. I walked to Dr. Lorraine's office, invitation in hand. I can't do this. She looked up. Do what? Speak. In front of how many people? About 250. My stomach dropped. I'm not good at public speaking. Robert, you talk to residents every day. You've presented to funders. You've been interviewed by the Globe. She came around her desk. You don't have to be perfect, just honest. For 2 weeks, I worked on a speech. I wrote about Haven Hope, about 30 rooms and the community we'd built, about providing hope, not just housing. I wrote about silver bridges, about 420 women, about Patricia getting her first job in 6 years, about women reconnecting with family. It was good, safe, professional, but it felt empty. A few days before Christmas, Lorraine knocked on my door. How's the speech? It's done. Can I hear it? I read it. 5 minutes. When I finished, she was quiet. It's good, Robert, but it's missing you. What do you mean? You're talking about Haven Hope and silver bridges, but not why you're here. Not your story. My story isn't relevant. Robert. She leaned forward. You survived elder abuse, were thrown out in a blizzard, nearly died, rebuilt your entire life from nothing. That's powerful. I don't want people to pity me. It's not pity, it's hope. You're proof people can start over. Even at 77, even after losing everything. I thought about it for 3 weeks. Every time I looked at my speech, I heard her words. It's missing you. She was right. Haven Hope had saved my life. If I didn't tell people why this work mattered to me, what was the point? In mid-January, I started over. I rewrote everything. This time I started with February 13th, 2021. The blizzard, the cold, the hypothermia. I didn't use names, just my son-in-law and my daughter. I talked about being Henry, becoming Robert, Officer Marshall, Dr. Lorraine, Haven Hope giving me a second chance, then silver bridges, turning pain into purpose, helping 420 women because I knew what it felt like to have nowhere to go. First draft 11 pages. I cut it to 7, then 5. Better. In late January, I asked Denise to listen. We sat in the common room after dinner. I read the whole thing. When I finished, she was crying. Denise, she wiped her eyes. That was beautiful, Robert. This is going to change lives. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the gala, about standing on stage, about telling my story to 250 people. And then I thought about Christine. I'd been ignoring her letters for months. The lawyer, the $75,000 donation. But I knew she worked in marketing, event organizing, corporate events, nonprofit galas. What if she was involved in this one? The next morning I asked Lorraine, who's organizing the gala? A company called Pinnacle Events. Why? I looked it up. There it was, on their website. Christine Wallace Grant, Senior Marketing Manager. My daughter was organizing the gala where I'd be speaking, but she wouldn't know. The program listed me as Robert Wallace, Director of Elder Services. She didn't know my middle name. Never called me Robert. To her I was Henry, and Henry was gone. An idea formed. Dangerous, maybe foolish. What if I invited her? Not directly, but anonymously. A last-minute addition to the guest list. She'd come. She'd see the program. Robert Wallace. She wouldn't know it was me, not until I walked on stage. Then she'd see that I was alive, healthy, that I'd built something, that I didn't need her to save me, because I'd saved myself. I talked to Dr. Lorraine about it. Are you sure? No, but I think I need to do it. Why? Because I need closure, and maybe she does too. Lorraine nodded. Okay. I'll make sure she gets an invitation. The next 3 weeks blurred together. I practiced every night, in my room, in the mirror, out loud. 7 minutes, perfect. Denise listened twice more, cried both times. Owen came to visit. I told him about the gala. He said he'd be there. Front row. Dr. Lorraine arranged a suit. Navy blue. It fit perfectly. Everything was ready, except me. On the morning of February 16th, I woke at 5 a.m., couldn't go back to sleep. I sat at my desk and read through my speech one more time. My name is Robert Wallace, but 4 years ago I was known as Henry. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. In 12 hours, I'd be standing on a stage at the Fairmont Copley Plaza, in front of 250 people, including my daughter, who didn't know I was coming, who didn't know Robert Wallace was Henry, who didn't know her father had survived. I opened my eyes. The speech sat on my desk. 5 pages. 7 minutes. 4 years of my life condensed into words. I folded it and put it in my jacket pocket. 3 weeks of preparation, and then the night arrived. The ballroom at the Fairmont Copley Plaza was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead, casting warm golden light across the room. Round tables draped in white linen filled the space, each topped with candles and small floral arrangements. A string quartet played Vivaldi in the corner, while 250 guests in evening wear mingled with champagne glasses in hand. I stood near the entrance, tugging at my tie. The navy blue suit felt wrong, too tight, too formal, like I was wearing someone else's skin. Owen had bought it for me. You're the guest of honor, Robert. You can't show up in khakis. But I felt like a fraud. Dr. Lorraine appeared beside me. You look great. I feel like I'm going to throw up. She smiled. That means you care. Come on. Our table's up front. She guided me through the crowd. I caught fragments of conversation, fundraising goals, board elections, grant deadlines. This was their world, not mine. We reached a table near the stage. Denise was already there in a burgundy dress I'd never seen before. She looked elegant, happy. Robert. She stood and hugged me. You clean up nicely. Thanks, I said, unsure it was true. Owen arrived moments later with his wife, Anna. He clapped my shoulder. Ready? No. Good. At 7:10, the lights dimmed. A tall man in his 40s stepped onto the stage, polished and confident. Good evening. My name is Preston Mills, and I'm honored to be your host tonight. Applause filled the room. We're here to celebrate 5 nonprofit organizations changing lives across Greater Boston. Organizations that provide hope, dignity, and community. He listed them: food banks, youth mentorship, domestic violence shelters, mental health services. Then he said, Haven Hope, dedicated to helping older adults experiencing homelessness rebuild their lives with dignity and purpose. The applause felt distant. My heart was pounding too hard. To tell us more, Preston continued, please welcome my colleague, Christine Wallace Grant. The room tilted. Christine. I'd known she worked for Pinnacle Events. I'd known she might attend. I hadn't expected to see her on stage. She stepped into the spotlight. Black dress, simple, elegant, but thinner than I remembered. Her cheekbones were sharper. Dark circles lingered beneath her eyes. She looked exhausted. She smiled professionally as she reached the microphone. Good evening. Her voice was steady, practiced. But I heard the strain underneath. Haven Hope was founded in 2010 to address a growing crisis: older adults, especially women, experiencing homelessness for the first time. Women who worked their whole lives, raised families, and contributed to their communities, only to lose everything through illness, divorce, or hardship. She paused. In 2021, Haven Hope launched Silver Bridges, a comprehensive support program for women over 50, job training, healthcare navigation, mental health services, and housing assistance. In 3 years, Silver Bridges has helped over 400 women rebuild their lives. Applause. Christine glanced down at her card again. Tonight we honor the man who created Silver Bridges. A man who understands this work not just professionally, but personally. Please welcome Mr. Robert Wallace, Director of Elder Services at Haven Hope. The room erupted. I didn't move. Lorraine leaned toward me. Robert. Go. I stood. My legs felt borrowed. I walked toward the stage, each step heavier than the last. 5 stairs. I climbed them. The lights hit me. I was 15 feet from Christine. She turned toward me. For a heartbeat, she looked at me like a stranger. Polite, professional, then recognition hit. Her eyes widened as she took in my face, the scar above my eyebrow from the night I fell in the snow, the slight limp from decades of carpentry work. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. The microphone slipped from her hand. It hit the stage with a sharp clang. The ballroom froze. 250 people fell silent. Preston rushed forward. Christine. Are you okay? She didn't answer. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she stared at me, one hand covering her mouth. Do you need to sit down? He asked. She nodded faintly. He guided her down the steps. She kept looking back at me, pale and shaken. The entire room watched her go. Then they looked at me. I stood alone at the podium. Faces filled with confusion and concern. The quartet had stopped playing. The silence was total. I searched the crowd. Lorraine sat calmly, steady as stone. Denise had tears in her eyes, but was smiling, nodding encouragement. Owen met my gaze and gave a small nod. Then I saw Christine. She stood at the edge of the room, one hand braced against a pillar. Preston hovered beside her, worried, but she wasn't looking at him. She was looking at me. Mascara smudged, breathing unsteady, but she was looking at me. For the first time in 4 years, I turned back to the microphone, picked it up. Feedback screeched briefly. I flinched, then silence. I took a breath, and I began. Before I tell you the truth, comment I'm here so I know you haven't walked away. One quick note: what comes next contains fictional elements added for learning and reflection. If that's not something you want to hear, you're free to pause or exit now. My name is Robert Wallace. I paused. 250 faces stared back at me. But 4 years ago I was known as Henry. Another pause. Confusion rippled through the room. 4 years ago I disappeared. Not because I wanted to, but because someone wanted me gone. The silence deepened. The past. 1973. I met Helen at a Cambridge diner. We talked for 3 hours. Married in 74. Had a daughter in 76, Christine. I didn't look at her yet. Helen passed away in 2015. After 42 years together, I didn't know how to live without her. My voice cracked. In 2016, I sold our Beacon Hill home. Gave my daughter and her husband $175,000 for a bigger house in Brookline. I moved in with them. I let the numbers sink in. For 4 years, I lived with Christine, her husband Douglas, and my granddaughter Clara. I fixed things, played with Clara, cooked dinner, tried to be useful. Pause. But Douglas had a secret. $77,000 in gambling debts. Atlantic City, Las Vegas. And he needed money fast. The room went still. In December 2020, $8,500 disappeared from my room. Cash from my pension. I kept it in my Bible. Someone gasped. Douglas accused me of losing it, of being confused. 77 years old. Maybe your memory's not as sharp as it used to be, Henry. I mimicked his voice. Then I discovered the truth. Douglas bought a life insurance policy on me. $400,000, January 2021. 1 month before he threw me out. Louder gasps. He didn't just want my money. He wanted me dead. The night that changed everything. February 13th, 2021, 8:37 p.m. Douglas called me downstairs, showed me fake text messages, photos of cash hidden in my closet that I'd never seen. My hands gripped the podium. He told Christine I'd stolen from them. She stood there, silent. When I begged her to believe me, she said nothing. A sob from the side of the stage. Douglas gave me 10 minutes to pack, to leave. -15 degrees outside. A blizzard. I was 77. I had $37 in my wallet. A spring jacket. No hat. No gloves. The room froze, and my daughter watched as her husband threw me out into the snow to die. My voice broke. Clara screamed, "Grandpa, please stay." Douglas dragged her inside. The door slammed shut. Long pause. No, I walked into that blizzard, alone, at 77. Nowhere to go, I thought. This is how Henry Wallace dies. The rescue, but I didn't die. I looked up. At 10:30 p.m., Boston police officer Owen Marshall found me. Half frozen, hypothermic, collapsed at a bus stop. I pointed to the front row. Owen stood. People clapped. Officer Marshall saved my life. Boston Medical Center. 3 days hospitalized. 6 stitches in my forehead. Frostbite on my ears and fingers. Owen sat. When I woke up, Dr. Lorraine Hughes visited me. She ran Haven Hope, a shelter for homeless older adults. She offered me a bed, a chance, a future. I looked at Lorraine. Tears streamed down her face. She also offered me a choice. Stay Henry Wallace, the man who was betrayed, thrown away, who nearly died, or become someone new. The Transformation. February 21st, 2021. I chose a new name. Robert Wallace. My middle name. I started over. I straightened. I worked as a community health worker. Helped residents with mass health. Drove them to appointments. Listened to their stories. March 2021. Douglas was arrested. Fraud. Elder abuse. Attempted manslaughter. 30 years. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I kept working. 2021, I started Silver Bridges to help women over 50 experiencing homelessness. Not just housing, job training, health care, mental health support, child care, resume help, everything needed to rebuild. My voice strengthened. We are first year 65 women. End of 2023, 205. Today, Silver Bridges operates in 7 Massachusetts cities. Over 420 women helped. Applause started. I raised my hand. Not me, we, Lorraine, Denise, Owen, Patricia, every Haven Hope resident, every donor, every volunteer. We did this together. The message. Why am I telling you this tonight? I looked directly at Christine. Her face was wet with tears. Because if you've been betrayed, thrown away, told you're too old, too broken, too far gone, you're not. My voice steadied. You can start over, become someone new, build a life that matters, at 77, at 80, at any age. Pause. And to those who threw you away, you don't need their forgiveness. You don't need their apology. You just need to survive. Then build something better. The ending. 4 years ago, Henry Wallace disappeared in a blizzard. He was supposed to die, alone, forgotten. I smiled. But he didn't die. He became Robert Wallace, Director of Elder Services, founder of Silver Bridges. Tonight, standing here before you, I am proof it's never too late. To start over. To become who you were meant to be, to turn tragedy into purpose. I looked at the audience, then Christine, then Owen, Lorraine, and Denise. Thank you for giving me a second chance, for believing an old man in a blizzard could become something more. This is just the beginning. I stepped back. For 3 seconds, silence. Then Owen stood. Then Lorraine. Then Denise. Then the entire front row. Then the whole room. 250 people standing, clapping, crying, shouting, and from the side of the stage a broken voice. "Dad!" "Christine." I closed my eyes. Peace. I stepped back from the microphone. My legs shook, my hands trembled, but I was still standing. 7:55 p.m. The applause went on for 3 minutes. I walked down the stage steps. Lorraine rushed forward and hugged me tight. Owen shook my hand, his grip firm. Denise wiped her eyes and whispered, "You did it." But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at Christine. 8 p.m. She stood 10 feet away. Black dress, thin frame, red eyes. She took one step toward me, then stopped. "Dad," she whispered. Her voice barely carried over the fading applause. "Dad," I looked at her, really looked at her. 4 years. 4 years since that night. I said nothing. She took another step. "I'm so sorry. I should have." I held up my hand. Not angry, not cold, just not ready. "Christine," my voice was quiet. "Not yet." Her face crumpled, but she nodded and stayed where she was. The room had gone quieter now. People were starting to sit down. Conversations murmured. Someone laughed nervously. And then, boom! The back doors of the ballroom slammed open. 8:05 p.m. Every head turned. A man stood in the doorway. Disheveled, unshaven, red eyes, baggy jeans, and a wrinkled jacket. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Douglas Grant. The room went silent. Robert Wallace. His voice echoed through the ballroom, raw, furious. "You destroyed my life." People gasped. Chairs scraped. Someone screamed. Lorraine grabbed my arm. "Robert, get back!" But I didn't move. Douglas stormed down the center aisle. Security guards near the entrance started moving, but too slow. He was fast, desperate. 30 years, I got 30 years because of you. 50 feet away, then 30, Owen stepped in front of me. "Sir, you need to leave. Now." Douglas didn't stop. 8:06 p.m. He swung. His fist connected with Owen's jaw. Owen stumbled back, hit a chair, and went down hard. The crowd screamed. Douglas kept coming. 20 feet, 15, 10. He stopped right in front of me. Close enough that I could smell the stale alcohol on his breath. See the broken blood vessels in his eyes. "You were supposed to die in that blizzard." His voice shook. I set it all up. The texts, the cash, the insurance policy. $400,000. He was shouting now, spitting. His hands were fists. "You were supposed to freeze to death. Alone. And no one would have known. But you lived. You became this." He gestured wildly at the stage. At the banner that read, "Haven Hope 15th Anniversary Gala," and you ruined me. I looked at him. This man who had thrown me out, who had wanted me dead, and I felt nothing. "No, Douglas," I said quietly. "You ruined yourself." His face twisted. 8:07 p.m. "Dad, stop." Christine ran forward, stepped between us. Her hands were out shaking. "Douglas, please, just go, please." He looked at her, and for a second I saw something flicker. Pain, regret, anger. Then he shoved her, hard. Christine fell backward, hit the floor. Her head cracked against a chair leg. I moved without thinking, dropped to my knees beside her. "Christine," Douglas lunged at me, but he didn't make it. 8:08 p.m. 4 police officers swarmed him from behind. They grabbed his arms, forced him down. He fought, kicked, screamed, "Get off me." He stole my life. I had it all set up, the insurance, the texts, the cash in his closet. I planted it all. The entire ballroom heard him. 250 witnesses. Douglas Grant, confessing to everything. $400,000, it was mine. He was supposed to die. I needed that money. $77,000 in debt, Atlantic City, Las Vegas. It was all mine. His voice broke into sobs. I set it all up. The fake texts, the missing cash, the blizzard, everything. He was supposed to disappear, and then I'd have the money, and I'd be free. The officers wrestled him to his stomach, cuffed his hands behind his back. 8:10 p.m. Detective Warren Hayes walked through the crowd. Calm, professional. I recognized him from 4 years ago. He knelt beside Douglas. Douglas Grant. You're under arrest for assault violating a restraining order and... He glanced at me. About 6 other charges we'll add based on what you just said. You have the right to remain silent. Douglas sobbed into the carpet. I lost everything. My wife, my daughter. 30 years. Everything. Warren looked up at me. You okay, Mr. Wallace? I nodded. Good. We'll need your statement, but not tonight. 2 officers hauled Douglas to his feet. His face was wet, broken. As they dragged him past me, he looked at me one last time. I'm sorry, he whispered. I said nothing. They took him away. 8:15 p.m. The ballroom was silent. 250 people. Frozen. Christine sat on the floor beside me, tears streaming down her face. She looked up at me. She choked out. I should have stopped him. That night. I should have... Her voice broke. She dropped to her knees, hands clasped. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, please forgive me. I looked down at her, my daughter, who had stood silent while her husband threw me into a blizzard to die. I didn't know what I felt. The crowd was silent, waiting. Lorraine stood behind me. Owen was on his feet now, holding his jaw. Denise had her hand over her mouth. Everyone was watching. Christine sobbed, broken, desperate. And I didn't know what to say. The silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20, 30, and then something happened. Something I didn't expect. She stood up. Christine wiped her face with the back of her hand. Mascara streaked her cheeks, her eyes red and swollen. Dad, she said softly. Can we talk? Just the 2 of us? The ballroom remained silent. 250 people watching. I looked at her, then at Lorraine. Lorraine nodded. Okay, I said, but not here. 8:35 p.m. Owen offered to come. I shook my head. I'll be fine. Christine led me through a side door, down a hallway of mirrors and gold trim, past stunned hotel staff. We walked in silence. 8:40 p.m. The courtyard was small and quiet. String lights hung above. A fountain gurgled nearby. Stone benches sat beneath ivy-covered trellises. February cold bit the air. My breath showed. Christine sat on one bench. I chose another 5 feet away. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I need to tell you something, she whispered. Something I should have told you 4 years ago. I waited. Douglas hit me. October 2020. I was pregnant with our second child. I lost the baby 2 days later. She stared at the fountain. He blamed me, said I was too emotional, that it was my fault. And I believed him. The water burbled softly. It got worse. He drank, yelled, threw things. Once he grabbed my wrist so hard it bruised for weeks. I told people I'd fallen. My hands tightened. By December, I was terrified. But I stayed. For Clara. I thought if I stayed quiet, if I didn't provoke him, he'd stop. She finally looked at me. Then you came to live with us. Things improved. Douglas behaved. You fixed things. You cooked. You made Clara laugh. You made the house feel safe. Tears ran freely now. But he resented you. Said you thought you were perfect. Always the hero. He was jealous of you. of a 77-year-old man. She wiped her nose. When the $8,500 went missing, I knew it wasn't you. You kept your money in your Bible. You told me after Mom died. My throat tightened. But Douglas showed me texts, photos, cash in your closet. He said if I defended you, he'd take Clara and disappear. I'd never see her again. She sobbed. So that night, February 13th, when he accused you, when he threw you out, I said nothing. I was scared. I was a coward. She looked at me desperate. I've lived with that every day. Knowing I let my father walk into a blizzard to die. Knowing I chose fear over your life. Silence filled the courtyard. I was angry for 3 years, I said quietly. I woke up at Haven Hope thinking about you standing there. Silent. I felt rage. Her face crumpled. I wanted to hate you. But hatred takes energy. And I needed that energy to rebuild my life. I met her eyes, so I let it go. Slowly, week by week. I stopped rehearsing what I'd say if I ever saw you again. I just let you go. She cried openly. And tonight I continued. When I saw you on stage, I felt nothing. No anger, no joy, just recognition. That's my daughter, the woman who stood silent while her husband tried to kill me. She flinched. But also the woman who donated $75,000 to Haven Hope. Anonymously, Lorraine told me. I figured it out. Christine stared at me, stunned. You've been trying to make it right. Your way. For 3 years. She nodded, unable to speak. I stood, walked to her bench, and sat beside her, still a foot apart. I forgive you, Christine. She broke sobbing into her hands. But I can't forget. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That night changed me. It killed Henry Wallace. I can't bring him back. She nodded through tears. We sat in silence. Then she spoke. Clara asks about you every week. She's 10. She still sleeps with Mr. Floppy, the rabbit you gave her. My chest tightened. She thinks you're dead. I told her you moved to California. I couldn't tell her the truth. She looked at me. Can I tell her you're alive? Please, she doesn't have to see you. I thought of Clara screaming as Douglas dragged her away. Yes, I said. You can tell her I'm alive. That I'm okay. That I think about her. Christine smiled faintly. And maybe someday, I added, we can talk about meeting her. But not yet. Of course. Thank you. She squeezed my hand once, then released it. 9:00 p.m. We sat quietly. Then she stood. Thank you, Dad. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I stood as well. No one deserves forgiveness, I said. That's why it's called grace. She smiled sadly and walked back toward the ballroom. I watched her go. I felt lighter. Not healed, not whole, but lighter. It was a beginning, fragile, uncertain, but a beginning. I woke up the next morning in my room at Haven Hope, room 12. Same bed, same blue blanket, same window facing the park, but my phone was buzzing. 43 missed calls, 112 text messages, 207 unread emails. I sat up staring at the screen. The first text was from Owen Robert, check the news. You're everywhere. I opened my browser and found it instantly. Someone at the Gala had recorded my entire speech 20 minutes from "My name is Robert Wallace" to the standing ovation. They had uploaded it to TikTok sometime after midnight, with a caption that made my stomach tighten. 77-year-old man thrown into a blizzard by his son-in-law becomes director helping 420 women rebuild their lives. His daughter stood silent. His son-in-law wanted him dead. This is the most powerful speech I've ever heard. By morning, the video had 50,000 views. By noon Wednesday, it hit 200,000. By evening, 500,000. Comments flooded in faster than I could read them. I'm sobbing. This man is a hero. Where is the daughter now? She owes him an apology. 40 years for Douglas, not enough. I want to donate to Haven Hope. Where can I send money? Someone created a Facebook page called Justice for Robert Wallace. Another launched a change.org petition demanding Douglas's sentence be extended to life. The video spread to Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. By Thursday morning, over 2 million people had watched my story. CNN called. NBC called. Good Morning America wanted an interview. The Boston Globe requested a profile. NPR emailed asking about my journey from abandonment to advocacy. I sat in Lorraine's office completely overwhelmed. "Robert, this is unprecedented," she said, scrolling through her laptop. Our donation page crashed twice. "We've received over $300,000 in 48 hours. I stared at her. 300,000. And it's still coming. $10 here. 50 there. Someone donated 5,000 with a note that said, "For Henry Wallace, who didn't die in the snow." My throat closed. Owen stopped by at lunch, his jaw still bruised from Douglas's punch. "You're a celebrity now. People are calling you the Blizzard survivor. There's a hashtag trending." "I didn't do this to be famous," I said. "I know," he replied, "but people needed to hear it." That afternoon, Denise brought me lunch, tears streaming down her face. A woman in Ohio started her own Silver Bridges program this morning. She emailed Lorraine, said you inspired her. I couldn't process it. By Friday, donations reached $500,000. $500,000. Lorraine called an emergency staff meeting. 20 people packed into the conference room. "This changes everything," she said, voice trembling. "We can open 2 more locations, hire more staff, double our capacity." The room erupted in cheers, but my mind drifted back 4 years to the blizzard. $37 in my wallet. No phone, no plan. If Owen hadn't found me, I would have died. That afternoon, a letter arrived on thick cream paper with an official seal. Lorraine read it aloud. "Dear Mr. Wallace, your story of resilience and service is an inspiration to the Commonwealth. You have turned personal tragedy into public good, the highest form of citizenship. With gratitude, Governor Maura Healey." I sat frozen. That evening, Detective Warren Hayes called. "Douglas was sentenced today," he said. For the assault at the Gala, violating his restraining order and his public confession, the judge added 10 years. My hands tightened around the phone. Total sentence, 40 years. With time served, he'll be eligible for parole in 2035. He'll be 76. I did the math. "Good," I said quietly. "You okay with all this attention?" Warren asked. "I don't know," I said. "But if it helps others, maybe it's worth it." The emails from Christine began the day the video went viral. "Dad, I saw the video. I'm so proud of you. I'm so sorry. Please, can we talk?" The next day, Clara saw it too. "She knows you're alive. She cried for an hour. She wants to see you. Then I lost my job. The firm let me go because of the publicity around Douglas. I'm applying everywhere. I don't blame them. And finally, I'm in therapy, twice a week. I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm trying. For Clara, for myself, for you." I read every email. I didn't respond. "Not yet. You don't owe her anything," Lorraine said gently one evening. "I know," I replied. "But she's trying. That matters." "Does it?" I thought of Christine that night, silent, terrified. Of the $75,000 she donated anonymously. "Yeah," I said, "it does." By week's end, the video reached 5 million views. Haven Hope raised over $500,000. Douglas would spend decades in prison. Christine kept writing slowly, persistently, and I listened. Not ready to forgive, not ready to reopen the door, but listening. The video changed everything. Haven Hope could expand statewide. Silver Bridges could help hundreds more women. Douglas was gone, and my daughter was trying. I didn't know what came next, but for the first time in 4 years, I felt there might be space for more than survival. Maybe there was room for healing. The email sat in my drafts folder for 3 days before I hit send. "Christine, I'm willing to meet. Coffee, somewhere public." She replied within 5 minutes. "Thank you, Dad." Wednesday, 2 p.m., Flower Bakery, South End. 3 days later, I walked in. She was already there, thinner hair, shorter dark circles under her eyes. When she saw me, she stood. We both hesitated. "Hi, Dad." "Hi." We sat. 10 minutes of silence. Coffee growing cold. Finally, she spoke. "I'm in a one-bedroom in Dorchester. Clara and I share it. I work part-time at a bookstore, still applying to marketing jobs, but—" She trailed off. "No one wants to hire me. I'm sorry." She looked up, surprised. "You're apologizing to me for what you're going through." Tears filled her eyes. "I let him throw you out. You were terrified, abused, protecting Clara. I understand now." We talked for 2 hours. About therapy, panic attacks, Clara asking about me every night. Douglas's debt credit cards, loans she never knew existed. "I'm going to pay you back," she said. "The $75,000, no, that money helped people. That's where it belongs." When we left, we shook hands. Just a handshake. But it was something. A week later, we walked Boston Common. Trees, bare ground, dusted with snow. Families with strollers. Dogs running. "I think about Mom a lot," Christine said suddenly. What she would think about all this. I took a deep breath. "She'd be heartbroken, but she'd forgive you." That's who she was. Christine's voice broke. "Would she be proud of you?" I thought about Helen. Our 42 years. How she believed people could change. "Yeah, I think she would. She'd be proud of you, Dad, for surviving, for building something good, for becoming Robert Wallace." I stopped walking. She said that. She always said you were stronger than you knew. My throat tightened. For the first time, Helen's presence didn't hurt. 2 weeks before Christmas, Christine called. "Clara wants to see you." My heart stopped. "Is she ready?" She's been ready for 4 years. We met on December 28th, a park near Christine's apartment. I got there early, hands shaking. Then I saw them. Christine walking across the grass. Beside her, a girl, taller, dark hair in a ponytail, pink jacket. Clara, 9 years old now. 4 years since that night. Christine pointed at me. Clara's eyes went wide. Then she ran. Covered in rempa, she crashed into me, arms around my waist, face buried in my coat. I froze, then wrapped my arms around her, and I cried. For the first time in 4 years, Clara pulled back, looking up at me with Helen's eyes. "I thought you were gone. Mom said California. But then the video. I knew you were alive." "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm right here." We sat on the bench. Clara talked non-stop. School. Friends. Mr. Floppy still on her bed every night. "Do you remember the birdhouse we built?" she asked. "I do." Can we do that again? Can you teach me more?" I looked at Christine. She nodded through tears. "Yeah, we can do that." Clara pulled out a folded paper. A crayon drawing. 3 stick figures. Tall with gray hair me. Medium with long hair Christine. Small with ponytail Clara. No one else. "That's our family, just us 3. "What about your dad?" Her face hardened. "He's not my family anymore. He hurt you." "He hurt Mom." I folded the drawing, put it in my pocket. "Thank you, Clara." We spent 2 hours together. Drew pictures, built stick towers, talked about everything and nothing. When it was time to go, Clara hugged me. Next week. Next week. By January, we had a routine. Every Sunday, park, Museum of Science, walking around Boston. I taught Clara carpentry, how to hammer, measure, sand. She was a natural, quick hands, patient. Christine joined sometimes. Other times she gave us space. It wasn't perfect. Silences still felt heavy. Moments when I'd look at Christine and remember. Moments when Clara mentioned something and I'd realize how much I'd missed. But we were trying, and that was enough. Fragile, like new wood not yet sealed, but real. The letter arrived in late January. Thick cream paper, official seal. Dear Mr. Wallace, you have been selected to receive the Governor's Medal of Service, the Commonwealth's highest civilian honor. Ceremony February 15th, 2025, Massachusetts State House. I called Lorraine. Did you know? She laughed. I wrote the nomination. The morning of February 15th, I stood in my room adjusting my tie. Navy suit. Same one from the gala. Denise knocked. Ready, Mr. Medal winner? No. Oh, good. That means you're human. The State House sat atop Beacon Hill Golden Dome, gleaming. 300 people filled the grand staircase hall. Owen in dress uniform. Lorraine in burgundy. Denise, Patricia, Haven, Hope residents. And third row Christine and Clara. Clara waved. I waved back. Governor Healy stepped to the podium at 2 o'clock. Today we honor a man whose story represents the best of Massachusetts. 4 years ago, Robert Wallace was 77, betrayed, thrown into a blizzard, left to die. But Officer Marshall found him. Dr. Hughes gave him shelter, and Robert chose to build something beautiful. She looked at me. Since 2021, he's served as Director of Elder Services at Haven Hope, founded Silver Bridges, helped over 420 women, expanded to 7 cities, inspired millions. The Governor's Medal of Service recognizes extraordinary courage and commitment. Today, I present it to Robert Wallace. Applause erupted. Everyone stood. I walked to the podium. She placed the medal around my neck. Heavy bronze. Blue ribbon. The microphone was mine. Thank you, Governor. But this medal doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to Officer Owen Marshall, who saved my life. To Dr. Lorraine Hughes, who saw potential in a broken old man. To Denise and every Haven Hope resident who showed me community. I looked at them, all crying. So it belongs to 420 women who trusted Silver Bridges, who rebuilt their lives. They're the real heroes. I found Christine and Clara, and it belongs to my family. My daughter Christine, who made mistakes but works daily to do better. My granddaughter Clara, who forgave me. They remind me healing is possible, that families can be rebuilt. Christine sobbed. Clara held her hand. 4 years ago, I thought my life was over. 77, homeless, dying in a blizzard, $37, no future. I touched the medal, but here's what I learned. It's never too late. 17 or 77 or 81, betrayed, abandoned, or broken. You can start over, become someone new, turn tragedy into purpose. My voice strengthened. If you're struggling, you are not alone. You can rebuild. I did it at 77. You can too. The room exploded. Standing ovation. Owen wiping his eyes. Lorraine beaming. Clara standing on her chair, clapping hard. After the ceremony, Clara pushed through the crowd and grabbed my hand. Grandpa, can I hold the medal? I took it off, placed it around her neck. It hung to her waist. This is yours. You keep it. Her eyes went wide. Really, this medal represents second chances, and you, Clara, are my second chance. She hugged me tight. Now who wants pizza? We went to South End, small place, red checkered tablecloths, plastic cups. Clara talked nonstop about school, her science project, building a real birdhouse with me. Christine smiled, really smiled. When Clara left for the bathroom, Christine reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Thank you for including us today. You're my family. Even after everything, I thought about Helen, the 42 years, the 4 lost years, the future I was building. Yeah, even after everything, that night I sat in my room. The medal hung beside Clara's drawing. 3 stick figures. A family. This wasn't the life I'd imagined. Not the family I'd had, but it was a family, built on forgiveness, second chances. My name is Robert Wallace. I'm 81 years old. Father, grandfather, director, survivor. 4 years ago, my life didn't end in a blizzard. It began. I'm proof it's never too late to start over. Never too late to become who you were meant to be. Never too late to turn tragedy into purpose. This is my story, and it's just the beginning. And to you listening to this story, remember this: God has a plan for every trial we face. When I was lying in that blizzard at 77, I couldn't see it. But God put Officer Marshall in my path. God led me to Haven Hope. And God gave me the strength to forgive. 3 times I prayed in that snow, God, if this is the end, let it mean something. And He answered. Not the way I expected, but in a way that changed hundreds of lives. Looking back at my own family story, I see now what I should have done differently. I should have spoken up sooner when Douglas's behavior changed. I should have demanded answers about that missing money. I should have had a backup plan, an emergency fund, separate from the house contacts beyond my daughter. Don't be like me. Don't wait until it's too late. If you're in a family story where someone is controlling you, gaslighting you, or threatening you, get help now. Call a trusted friend. Contact elder services. Document everything. Because revenge isn't about getting even dad. Revenge isn't what saved me. What saved me was surviving, rebuilding, and letting God handle justice. Douglas got 40 years. I didn't need to lift a finger. That's dad revenge done right, living well, and letting karma work. So here's my advice: trust God, but also trust your instincts. Protect yourself. And remember, it's never too late to start over. If this family story moved you, please leave a comment below. What would you have done in my situation? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to this channel because stories like mine matter. They remind us that resilience is possible, that dad revenge can be grace, and that second chances are real. Thank you for listening to the very end. Your support means everything. A gentle reminder: the stories ahead may contain fictionalized elements created for educational purposes. If this content doesn't suit you, feel free to explore other videos that better match your preferences. Thank you for understanding.